morning. Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Cory. On this Wednesday morning, August 7th, we have a special guest today, Chief of Police, Williston Chief of Police, Dave Peterson. Thanks for coming today and being with us.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate the offer, Cory, and welcome to the audience. My pleasure.
Yeah, well, and thank you for Meg-a-Latte for putting us on and sponsoring this conversation. And you know, we've known each other a long time. We you know, Williston's been obviously our home. And so, speaking of our home, last night you guys had a Williston night out.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
So National Night Out, I believe, started in 1941 in Philadelphia, where the department just asked residents to come out onto their doorstep for unity in neighborhoods, unity with law enforcement, to show that we're all in this together to protect the community that we live and play and work in, and make it the best community we possibly can. And so many years we've been doing National Night Out, and I gotta give a plug, Cory, if that's okay, to our community engagement.
Absolutely, yeah.
Callie Stelmacher, who just transitioned into our PIO role, but still helping with our community engagement and the liaison work. And to put on an event like that, we get to have the tremendous fun as the event goes on, but Callie is really behind the scenes at the Williston Police Department that organizes that whole event. And so it's really just that event that we can all come together in kind of a party atmosphere,
yeah,
and a fun atmosphere, especially for the little ones.
Yeah.
And
this was at Davidson Park last night?
Yes, Davidson Park. We had water balloons, we had snow cone treats, we had burgers. And
did they have a dunk tank to dunk you?
No, they dunked some sheriff's department.
Okay,
officers.
well, that's probably suffice. That was probably a good choice on your behalf.
Yeah, I got to just hand out hamburgers and hot dogs.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I mean, what a great night. It was still summer last night, and today we got a little bit of a taste of fall, I think. But so Davidson Park, and that's so cool. 1941. It kind of that's a year that's really significant. Do you remember the date on that, or like a month and date? Or
I don't remember the month.
Obviously, World War II.
Yeah.
You know, and that's interesting. Out of Philadelphia, and we kept doing it, or we started it from long time ago.
Many years ago, but it's growing. You know, it's approximately 10 years ago we started doing it in Williston, and it was a smaller event. We maybe served 50 to 75. Last night we served approximately 1,000 hamburgers and hot dogs. So there was just a tremendous outreach from the community, and they brought their little ones, and it was a well-attended event. We had a beautiful night for it, Cory. And last year we got rained out. A couple years prior to that, it was so hot. Last night was warm, but it was a beautiful summer night for Williston, for sure.
That's great. 10 years ago, so that's 2014. Really, the height of the boom. We're coming maybe down just a little bit. Those are kind of some crazy times during the boom.
Yeah.
And was your role the same then, or were you in this position?
I've been in this position for approximately 7 years.
Okay.
So my role back then would have been in the detective division, and I came back home in 2008 and worked my way through patrol into the detective division, and then into the command staff in the captain role, and then in 2017 the chief of police. And it's been my honor to serve the community since 2008 in many different facets in the WPD. But you're right, we went through some challenges, but I think that's how you build resilience, is you don't build it through your easy times when everything is just going smoothly. You build it through those those tough times.
Yeah, so true. What do you find, I guess, from maybe prior to the, I mean, you grew up here, you went to, and you came back to work during a tough time. And now, what do you see the biggest difference just in the community of Williston, maybe number one, and maybe just safety in that, and in those regards of the community?
Yeah. Well, a large challenge for us, Cory, was usually law enforcement isn't asked to grow so rapidly. It's asked to grow at a steady pace as your community slowly increases in population base. So we had to grow pretty rapidly, and there's challenges that come with that. Training new staff, bringing on new staff, and then leadership to lead that staff. I just thought, I can't say enough positive about all aspects from our community members, their support for law enforcement, our city commission, and our city leadership, and then back to leadership at the Williston Police Department. I think we went through a transition period where we had a lot of transition to make, and now we're coming out of that, and we're seeing the benefits of when I started, we were roughly 23 sworn, we're 77 sworn.
Wow.
We're in a much better position to serve this community than we were back during the boom. So I just look to the leadership of the city, the community for their support, and our public safety sales tax, and then renewing the sales tax extension. Seeing the importance to invest in the community and the safety, I think the safety in the community really translates into quality of life.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I don't think people tie those two things together all the time until those times of, I remember during the boom, and it was, I don't know, maybe 2011, and I was waiting in line for that Hardee's, and for 35 minutes just to get up to the front, and it was this crazy times, but also just having a sense of just the community, like, wow, I think we need some more support here. And being a Williston guy, Williston native, I'm like, and really had to think about my family and what we're looking at as safety and having a good community. But I think after that conversation with my wife, I don't know, 6 to 9 months, it just started to have that support, and you're able to add staff, and it was such a huge thing that at least I noticed, and I think you're right. I mean, that if you didn't have those times, you wouldn't be where you're at today.
Right.
With this community, wouldn't the police department. That's huge. Anyway, no, those are some neat things that happen for our community or with our community that most communities will never go through.
Right. Yeah. And we're lucky on so many aspects to have that growth and that prosperity, and I can think of not just the individuals that have brought to the WPD from around the nation that have put roots here, bought a house, growing a family here. You and I went to high school here. I went to college here. I eat, breathe, sleep Williston pride. I love this community. I've never felt so accepted. I've never felt like a community is so giving. I think Williston just has all of these great attributes. And some of our staff have seen that. They've bought houses, they've set roots, their children are going to school here, and I can only assume that that's happening out in the oil industry, our teaching community, our business community. And as we just continue to grow that, as long as we have that solid foundation, I believe, of safety, good school system, some healthcare, all of those components, a good solid base, will just be able to grow this community into the future. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And maybe one or two things on that, maybe a little bit more, just to re-emphasize, like when I travel, especially out of Williston, 95% still are men. Coming to work here for a week or two, whatever, and they're going back. And my guess is the percentage of those people are looking to set roots here. What would give them more? Maybe 20%, half of those, maybe, I don't know, that eventually want to come and make Williston home. What could you tell them to really emphasize, like, you know what, it's all right, we're good. We got good things going on. What could you tell them to just give them that confidence to, like, let's go for it? I like to try to stay in my scope, Cory, which is law enforcement. But I think that some of those things that I already touched base on, from your city commission, your county commission, leadership at the county, leadership at the city, and then going out for some of these votes for our school district and seeing some of those bonds pass, seeing our sales tax, the support that the community gives to our school system, to public safety. And I think that Williston just is a tremendously giving community.
Yeah.
And when somebody is in need, the whole community steps up. We're growing into a larger city, but it still has kind of that small town feel, and where you get to know your neighbors in your neighborhood, and you develop a sense of neighborhood and belonging in neighborhood, belonging in the community. And I think there's so much opportunity to grow a business in Williston, and our future is so bright, I believe, as far as from an economic standpoint.
Sure.
So mine would be to drive it home is just those things that when you see communities step up, support safety, support schools, support our hospitals, and then the possibilities, I think, in Williston. I know that you have classmates, I have classmates that have been able to be very, very successful from a business standpoint, family members. So
absolutely, I agree with all that. That's we live in an area that there's not many in the country can have this opportunity, potential to earn really well, good income, and to have a wonderful living. Let's get back just for a moment, just at the present time. There's always little things going on or thefts going on. Like, how important for safety in the community, like doors being locked at home? I mean, we talked about when I'm growing up, I don't remember worrying about locking the door of the car so much. But again, we're many years later. People get their cars stolen on occasion. Is it really important? How big a problem is it? What do you see?
It's a huge problem, Cory.
Is
it really is, from the standpoint that, when we grew up in Williston, there was a very a belief that you could leave valuables in your car, not lock your car, not lock your garage, and that's a great feeling. But our nation is suffering through an opioid epidemic, and not just Williston. We're not going through this alone. There's communities all over our nation, from big to small to extremely large, that are going through. First, it was a heroin epidemic, and then now transitioning into a fentanyl epidemic, and some of those
fentanyl, opioid, same thing.
Correct. Just one synthetic, one not. And so some of those individuals have $100 a day habit, and their habit is so strong that they cannot go out and work in an environment to earn that money. So how they earn that money is through theft. And so if they are, most of the time, we're not seeing a tremendous amount of smash and grabs where your windows are up, doors are locked, they're going to break a window, go in, steal. Obviously, we don't want valuables stored in a vehicle, store them in the trunk, keep them out of view, but they're really looking, just pulling on door handles, riding bikes by, pouring on down, and if your vehicle's open, they're going through it. And
so lock your doors.
Lock your doors.
Yep.
Just lock your doors.
Easy
store
solution.
Your valuables in the trunk, or store them in your house, out of view.
No, that's good. Anything else like on that part of it, whether it's the opioid addiction or these people, having certain huge struggles in their life, but as a community, how can we help you guys, do our part?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, because that's a big component right there. Is this? We're not going to arrest our way out of this opioid crisis. It's going to take a community. We brought in educators, really Katie Shannon, and Connect Us, and bringing in some educators into our school system to have real conversations about pharmaceuticals, and specifically fentanyl, and the dangers that surround that. I've had friends call me that their children have tried fentanyl and have become hooked on it, and it's hard to have those conversations with some of my friends. That is a powerful opioid that is very, very hard. So we're at the Williston Police Department looking to partner with whoever we can partner with, because I think there's an education component, there's a treatment component, there's a community component. But first and foremost, we got to get our community educated on what it is and the dangers surrounding it, and have real talks with their youth, and then our rehabilitation component. I know Dr. Hyde at CHI is working hard to get a behavioral health unit stood up there to help us with some of those severe cases where they need to be secure to protect themselves from the opioid addiction or mental health or behavioral health challenges. I know that Northwest, Shar and her team there are working hard to stand up crisis response teams and our crisis residential unit there. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes in our community that are tremendous to help us with recovery and rehabilitation from those addictions. We just got to realize that we're not going to just arrest our way out of this problem. It has to be a community that, one, we got to educate the entire community on what fentanyl is and the dangers surrounding it. Yeah,
so true. I agree. I agree with that. So you talked about school and having a new school is going to be built, I believe, in the new Williston Commons or Williston, what are we calling
Williston
that?
Square.
Williston Square. That's awesome. It's a great thing. So obviously we got other schools that are existing and kids are getting, well, most kids are getting excited for school. And what can we remind the community of once school gets going or as we get closer to it? Is there other things that can help you guys out? Because you're going to have, especially that middle school complex, it's been, I'm sure, kind of a challenge over the last couple of years. The high school, other elementary schools, what would be some good pointers to get out to the community?
Cory, this is a tough conversation right here because our playgrounds when we were growing up used to be playgrounds, and
didn't have fences around them.
They didn't have fences around them. They had some steel equipment. But I'm
you used to tackle somebody and that I get in trouble.
They
play football and
But I'm going to the area that our playgrounds were now. A lot of our playgrounds are electronic. And that's the biggest piece, I think, of this puzzle, is if you're going to give your youth a playground, i.e. an iPad, a cell phone.
I got you.
Monitoring that. Just like you'd monitor them if you send them to a playground, a physical playground. And
now they're online.
Yes, and there's some dangers out there. There's some pitfalls. There's some people out there that are looking to harm your child in those playgrounds. And a lot of our problems that stemmed from the middle school at the end of last year happened on that playground, where there was some talk about threats. We didn't really see where they were manifesting in the school, but they're manifesting on social media, and then it becomes this scare for our youth, for our parents, and we take every one of them very, very seriously.
I'm sure you do.
Department. And we've brought on 3 SROs now, one for the high school, one for the middle school, and one to go out to our elementary, but also to assist with that middle school and the Innovation Academy.
That's a huge part of it, and I think for seeing that presence of the SROs. And what does SRO stand for? Some people may not know.
I apologize with the acronyms. School Resource Officer. I'll try not to use too many of those acronyms because, School Resource Officer, they're so vital in everything we do because we have some, like our high school, that's bigger than a lot of cities in North Dakota. And we have our most valuable resources all in one area, our youth. And we want to make sure that we're protecting that environment from a physical standpoint. But what I really want to hit home, Cory, is think of that cell phone or that iPad as a playground. Would you just and I don't want to get too preachy on it, but
it is a huge thing in our culture. It's okay. I mean, obviously I saw it as a teacher come in when kids would start having phones in or trying to bring them in the classroom and stuff. But I guess that, not to get into the administrative part of that, obviously I've been an administrator and know most administrators here in town, and it is an issue, and maybe it's a district policy or something they're thinking about. I know just keeping tabs and seeing things across the country, different school systems outline, you can't bring a phone in. What are your thoughts there? You can't bring them into school.
Well, I see the benefits. I see the benefits of allowing our youth to interact with each other, and
they'll talk to each other face to face, maybe more.
Yeah, maybe there's some of that where they can have some verbal dialogue. But that's a hard question, because I don't know necessarily that I have enough information to make a policy statement on somebody else's agency. It would definitely help control if we. That's some of the things that we look at: controlling ingress and egress doorways from schools, controlling who's coming into our schools, and making sure they're accountable. If somebody is coming into our schools, we want to know who they are. Why wouldn't we want to do that with that platform as well? When we control that environment of social media, at least for that block of time that we are asked to instruct them. I don't know. It's hard for me to comment on that, because
mixed feelings, as an educator, it is definitely some different thoughts, because you want students to be able to interact with the world, but I think most kids of the age of 2 or 3 probably have, some skills to get by, and I think I'm more on the side of probably we don't need that. They know how to get a hold of school. They need to, an emergency situation, get a hold of the office and so forth. That's what they used to do, and using it as a tool in the classroom, I think it's certainly a place for that too. That's where I struggle, because it's so fast. What do they call this age? The information age. I mean, they've never had so much information at their fingertips, like right here.
Right. I would probably lean on you more, because that is your expertise, being in the administration.
We used to look up in an encyclopedia. Remember that? Blake, do you know what an encyclopedia is? No. Well, see, there you go. But but time to change, and obviously you want to protect our kids, and that's a hard thing. The way you say it and describe it, that's a playground there, and is it being monitored? And it's just another world, really. You got your physical world, which you obviously guys are helpful on that, but just piece of technology that's can be infiltrated by anybody.
Yes, and during I hate even bringing up COVID times, but we pushed a tremendous amount of our youth into that playground for necessity, right? To keep us all safe and things of that nature. But we developed Teams and Zoom, and they were developed before, but we pushed everybody using these online platforms, and we pushed a lot of our youth even more online. And so we saw we have a digital forensic investigator position, and what used to be an ICAC.
You said digital forensic investigator.
Yep. Just because all of our crime scenes, the majority of our crime scenes nowadays have a electronic component to them.
Electronic, probably path or trace.
Yes, from a computer being part of the crime scene, a cell phone, obviously. But we used to just call it an ICAC investigator, Internet Crimes Against Children. And now we've changed that to a digital forensic investigator. But that ICAC position, the dangers out there in that electronic world are very real. There's very, very real predators out there, and very, very real victims out there that are being tremendously victimized. And I can't stress the viewers how important it is that I'm not saying that I'm a proponent of totally locking down communication. I am just saying monitor it.
You got to look. If you haven't looked at your kid's cell phone in weeks or a couple of days, it might be a good idea.
Yes, absolutely. Educate yourself on the different social media platforms, they change every other week. You know, I don't even know half of them. I hate to say that.
I tried to use Snapchat. Snapchat? I don't know. It's just a platform I'm just not used to. I'm not very good at it, but
yeah. You know, the Snapchat, TikTok, all of those are very commonplace now. But there's like Google. There's a ton of more that our youth are using, and it becomes very dangerous too. I was listening to a news article about TikTok wanted to start a rewards process on TikToks for the more likes and views and things you get, the higher the reward.
Wow.
So, you know, they're rewarding the more screen time and the more extreme. And so it's challenging out there for parents. And I'm a parent, so it's challenging. And I'm a grandparent now. It's challenging for me to think about my grandchildren and my children entering into those environments and trying to give them the tools necessary of you know, maybe don't put that content out there. That's
you're right. You go back to that digital world, and it's so different than when we grew up. But you know, on that a little bit, and really in the last, I don't know, 9 months, a year and a half, whatever, about AI, artificial intelligence. Now, what does that come into play? Have you guys had things that you had to deal with already about AI?
We're talking about it, and we're talking about legislative changes for AI. It's tremendously sad for me to think about. You didn't put an image out there and an explicit image, but they through artificial intelligence, put your face onto an image, and now that imagery is out there, and for us to be able to charge somebody for possession or for distribution of that image, but when it's technically not a real person because it's but it's using a face. So we're working on a real person. We're working through some legislation changes on that front. So it's extremely challenging, and to think about the future of that and the different components of how that could change a lot in how.
In a short amount of time.
In a short amount of time.
You know, speaking of technology and stuff, and not to get into the event a couple weeks ago nationally, but drones here locally. What are the rules locally? I know, I think he has a drone. I think I tried a drone. I don't know if I'm very good flying a drone, but it's coming, and it's going to be more prevalent in really our day-to-day stuff at some point. What are the rules currently on drones?
I think there's some very good websites, Cory, because that would be like an hour-long conversation about all of the different components of carrying a payload, flying over crowds, invading airspace. There are so many rules and regulations as it applies for drones. We have 3 drone pilots at the Williston Police Department. They're experts in that field, and any certificates that they need to be able to do those. And if there's any sort of, I just wanted to reiterate to you or the listening audience, if there's a criminal predicate, we write a search warrant. We don't overuse. We respect the privacy rights of our community, and so we're not just flying drones out there without trained pilots with the right certificates and without legal authority to be able to do it. But I'd refer the listening audience to some of those websites that they really break down, because I'm like you. I'm not a very good pilot, unfortunately. But that's the future, so maybe we should become good pilots.
Right. Well,
or we hire Blake.
Right. Well, no, it's certainly cool technology. Hopefully use it in a positive fashion and for the benefit, positive things, I guess, for sure. Let's go to kind of switch gears a little bit. I like to talk about this, certainly from people that I respect and here in a position like yourself, leadership on that topic. What qualities do you look for in a leader?
Well, That's a really hard to boil down, Cory, because we throw this word leadership out there, I think, and
True.
and
I agree.
you know, I can only tell you what's been relatively successful for me.
Yep.
You got for law enforcement, I like to kind of stick with my scope here.
Yeah.
You got to develop a good mission,
Yep.
and it has to be a mission that people believe in. And so our mission statement is to provide the best service we possibly can and protect this community in partnership with the community.
Yep.
And we put our mission statement out there on our briefing forms. We're constantly referencing our mission. That's what we're all pulling, and as a team, we're pulling towards that. It's to protect this community in the best way we possibly can, and we want to do it in partnership with the community.
Yeah.
And then having a clear vision statement, because if I was looking at a company to join a company, I'd want to know, where's the company going?
Yeah.
What if I join this company and I'm with them for 10, 15 years, 20 years, whatever, a lifetime,
Yeah.
I want to know where we going,
Yeah.
and then how we going to get there. And the vision statement, and our vision statement is we're going to train our personnel the best we possibly can, and so they're experts when they go out into the field and have interactions with our community. And we believe in the training of developing professionals at the Williston Police Department. So when somebody looks at the Williston Police Department, they see our mission statement, they see how we're going to get there through having trained officers, and then our core values. We got to have some really core values that what we're looking at as far as who we want to partner with,
Yeah.
who we want to bring alongside of us.
Yeah.
And then I believe in serving leadership. I believe that I like to feel like I'm a servant leader.
Servant leader.
I lead them, all of those brothers and sisters at the WPD and my partnerships throughout the community by serving them.
Yeah.
I try to get them what they need. During our very tough times, I try to be there, shed tears with them, be happy with them, and mostly just serve their needs and provide for them, whatever that looks like. If it's support, if it's operational items, and I think of that the same with partnerships, just like coming and speaking with you, Cory. I believe in that, building partnerships.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well said. And you talked about brothers and sisters, and I think people, looking at you in the Williston Police Department, we went from 20 sworn-in officers to 77 or something. And what would you say? Is there an age limit? Or you got to be 19 or 18, and what kind of qualifications if they want to become a police officer for the Williston PD? How do they go about that?
Our website, Ann at Economic Development, has done a tremendous job with our website as far as the Williston Police Department. Anybody that has any questions, they can call us. Captain Steve Armstrong, myself, Captain Dickerson, Captain Gutnick, any one of us, but mostly all of that information is right on our website. 18, what's going to disqualify you, what's not going to disqualify you, our WPAT, our Williston Physical Agility Testing, our written test, when those dates happen, all of that information's on the website, and working out pretty well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you've been with the police department for quite some time, and what would you say you've learned as the chief of police, or a highlight that you've learned as in sitting in this position? We've talked about a lot of different things, and I'm sure part of that, but what would you say would be something that you could take away, like, you know what, I've learned? Yeah.
Really hit the key word right there, learn. Every morning I've said, if my feet hit the ground and I don't feel like I'm 100% committed to that WPD, I'm committed to the community. Whatever it throws at me, whatever the challenges are, whatever the successes are, then I'm probably not the right person to be in the chief's position. And so every morning I hit the ground with that mentality. And you said, I learn something every day. And the day that I come to work and say I'm closed-minded, I'm not going to think about a different way to do things. I'm not going to think about different connecting points in our community. I'm not, and I failed to have that mindset. I'm going to learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I could sit here, your audience would get very bored, but I could tell you, from operational what I've learned, what works, what doesn't work, from monetary, from budget, what works, what doesn't work, working with commission, city administration, what works, what doesn't work. I've learned over the 7 years, I'm a different person, a tremendously different person.
Yeah, and that comes with experience.
Yeah,
right.
It very much.
I mean,
does.
you can't. There's no substitute for experience.
Right, and you've been in very high level leadership positions, and I know that you probably feel that same way. That from the day you entered into that high level leadership position, that you just learned a ton.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. You got to be open-minded, and you got to be able to adapt, and also, keep learning and wanting to put your best foot forward, as you say. And absolutely, that's good. Well said. And obviously, keep learning every day. Besides the work, obviously that's important. You're sitting in a very important position in our community and serving the community. But what do you do outside of that? Extracurricular hobbies? What do you do for fun, Dave?
Well, I found grandkids are amazing. I realize now why I went through all the struggles with my kids is to end up at grandkids. I'm mostly joking there, but man, I love my kids. I love my grandkids, and last weekend it reiterated that Williston State Park. We went out there camping and boating on that lake. My grandkids, my kids rode bike for 2 days straight. We walked every trail, looked at every kid-made teepee out there. And that lake, we have such a tremendous asset 15 miles away from us. We're so lucky. The Badlands. So fishing, camping, hunting, just hanging out.
No, those are some great things to spend your spare time, obviously with family. And you're right, the lake, Williston State Park, and the lake just so close to us. I mean, they got a coastline. I always say it, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but somebody told me along the way that we have more coastline than the state of California.
I believe it. Yeah.
That's a lot of coastline, and this guy likes to surf a little bit behind the boat. Have you tried surfing behind a boat? Like, what do you not surfing, right? It's called not wakeboarding, surfing. Yeah.
You'll find at some point you're just sore getting out of bed, and it's like, what happened? I just slept. Why am I sore? I used to get on a tube. We didn't have surfboards behind wake boats when we had not very nice boats, and we had a tube, and I'd tube all day long and not be sore. So no, never tried it.
Waking up the next day on one of those things, you really feel it. Well, I appreciate your time today, Dave, and we appreciate your service and your servant leadership. It's obviously something that's in your heart, and that you keep giving back. And also thank you for Meg-a-Latte for giving us this time and sponsoring this time. But again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, boss, for running the show.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Cory.
Yeah, we'll sign off.